Welcome to this new session. In this session, we're going to see how to deal with JSON, how to filter JSON, what are the methods that we have available in SmithOS, and some tips and tricks about this topic, and also some scenarios about the classifier component. So let's start. We have here for our example an API call component. This is just a GET request. This API call is going to retrieve random information about users. In this case, just the information from 3 users. Let's execute this component to see the structure of the response. Here we have the structure of the response. And the first thing that we can notice is that the information of the users is inside the results key. So that's the first thing that we can do. Extract the information from the results key. This can be done using custom outputs. You already know that you can extract information from default outputs, create a new output if you follow the JSON notation that we handle in SmithOS. So to extract information from the results key that it's located inside the response, we can create a new output called response.results. With this notation, we're going to extract information from the results key. We save this and let's execute this again to see if we are getting the expected behavior. We can check that, yeah, it's working correctly. We only have the array with the user information in the new output. But this is not enough because we still have a lot of information in this array and we are not interested in all of this information. So the second method that you can do is the JSON filter component. You already had a specific session about this component. You know how to use it. The only rule, or the important rule about this component is if you want to filter information that is located in nested objects, you have to mention the parent objects in order to filter this information. So let's use this component. Let's bind the array to the input of the JSON filter component. And first, let's execute this again to see the structure of the information. So let's say that we want to filter the gender. And then the first name. But well, in this case, this is located inside the name object. So we set name and first. And then let's say that we want to filter the street name. So this is inside the street object, and the street object is inside the location object. So to filter that, we can do that. And yeah, that's it. We save changes in the JSON filter, and let's execute again. Let's inspect the results, and we have the gender, the first name, and the street name correctly. So this is the expected result. So for the most of the cases, the JSON filter is really simple to use, and it's an easy way to filter information from a JSON. But you can get some unexpected results. And let's see a scenario when this happens. Let's see that we want to filter more information. Let's see that we want to filter this information, this value that is inside the ID object. So we set this ID and value. We save, and let's see what we got in the results. We have the gender, the first name, the street name, and we have the ID object and the value. This is what we want. But this name key, this is something that we didn't want. So let's investigate why is this happening. Let's open the settings of the JSON filter component, and let's open the original array. So just by coincidence, well, let's imagine that the information that we wanted to filter is this name. So to filter this, as you already know, we have to mention the parent object and then the information that we are interested. So if we check the settings of the JSON filter, we have those two names of the fields. So just by coincidence, the settings that we set in the JSON filter is also working to filter this information. So this scenario can happen to you in some cases where a field name is used in many places, in nested objects, in complex JSONs. So you have to be aware of these kind of situations where you are going to get unexpected results with the JSON filter component. So that's why these results, that's why we're getting this information in the results of the JSON filter component. This information is something that I don't want, but the settings of the JSON filter component is going to filter because of that coincidence in the name. So in some cases this can affect your workflow, in some cases it cannot affect. That depends your own workflows. But if this kind of behavior is going to affect your workflows, well, there's you have to have another option to be more precise filtering JSONs. And yeah, in SmithOS we have another option to filter JSONs in a more precise way. So let's see that. Let's stop this and let's remove this component. So to be more precise, we can use the code component. The code component, well, you can use JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript in this component. And well, you can use this to filter JSONs with JavaScript code. And well, I know that not all the people know how to code in JavaScript, but well, the things that we are going to do to filter JSON are not really complex, and you always can ask help to the AI to write code. Because this kind of situation are really simple, and well, the results that you can get if you ask AI to code something to filter a JSON, well, in the most of the cases, you're going to get a really precise code, and it's going to work really well. So let's see that. Well, by default, we have these two inputs. In this case, we only need one because we're just going to receive the JSON. Let's delete this. And let's rename this. Let's say JSON. We bind this. We have two sections in the settings of this component. We have the variables, where we have the inputs and the default output. This section cannot be modified. We cannot delete or do anything in this section, but it's going to be updated automatically if we change something in the inputs and outputs. As you can see, when I deleted the other input, that was also removed from this section, and when I rename this input, that was also updated in the variable section. And the code, this can be modified. This is where you can put the code. So how to filter? Well, let's execute this. So we have this array. Let's copy this, and well, let's use our chatbot. Here we have our chatbot. As you know, this has an LLM inside, so it has enough knowledge about coding, so we can ask some help to do this. I want to filter the fields gender, first name, street name, and what is the other one? ID value. From each element of this array. Using JavaScript. And let's see what we have. Okay, this is the code. So let's copy this. Let's open the settings of the code component. And we are going to make some small modification just in the names of the variables that we are using. For example, in this function, the data name is being used, but in our case we are receiving the information in this variable, so we're just going to change that. And then we also have to put the results in the output well, default output called output of the code component. So we just have to make that, and we can delete this line of code. So only with those changes, well, we are ready to try this. We save, and we're going to execute again. We inspect the results, and we have the gender, the first name, street name, and the ID. Let's check if that is correct. Let's check the original array. For example, from this user, the gender is male. That's okay. The first name is Pat. That's okay. The street name is Chester Road. That's okay. And the ID value is this one, which is okay. So we are filtering correctly. So this is another way, and well, this is the more precise way to filter JSON. I know that, well, this to use this, you need at least a bit of knowledge of coding, but well, not too much, because as we saw, we just ask an LLM about how to do that with JavaScript. We use that code, that suggested code. We just made some small changes about the variables that we are using in our code component, and with only those changes, we were ready to use this code that was entirely suggested by an AI. So this is a wonderful method to be precise filtering JSONs. So we cover the three available methods. The first one, and the most simple one, is creating custom outputs, then using the JSON filter component, and finally the use of the code component. So that's it about filtering JSONs. Okay, now we're going to see some scenario that you have to keep in mind about the classifier, about when you can use it, if you have another options. So let's see this another example. Let's say that we want to create an agent that is going to answer questions about cats and dogs. And well, so we have two ways to interact with this agent. As you already know, we have the chatbot and the API. So let's see how we can make the same agent, but we can see that the agent is going to look different if we are, well, depending on how we are going to interact with the agent. So let's see first if we want to interact with the agent through the chatbot, how we can build this agent. So what I can do is create an endpoint called cats and another one called docs. Each one is going to receive a question. And I'm going to use API output component just to display that question, or well, yeah, to show that to the AI that the chatbot has. We connect this, where I'm going to set this to minimal, and I'm going to do the same here for the docs endpoint. And I set this to minimal. Okay. And let's try this. I'm going to turn on the debug mode. I'm going to open the chatbot, and I'm going to do a question about cats. How can I train my cat? And we can see that the chatbot is the one who decides which endpoint is going to be called. So in this case, since the question is about cats, well, the chatbot is going to call the cats endpoint. And here we have my response. And on the other hand, if I ask a question about dogs, the dogs endpoint is called, and I got my response. So why I use this way of building this agent? Because the chatbot is the one who is going to decide which endpoint is going to be called. So I don't have to use a classifier in this case, because the decision can be made with the chatbot. This is another way where you can avoid of using the classifier, because that means, well, one component less in your workflow. So this is a trick. So keep in mind this. If you're going to interact with your agent through the chatbot, that can be this, or well, it can be also a custom GPT. Well, you have to be aware that these endpoints are going to be exposed to AI, and the AI can make that decision. So you can get rid of the classifier and let the AI decide which endpoint can be used according to the user request. Another thing that you can notice is that, well, in these workflows, I'm not setting in any place how the question is going to be answered, because in this I'm just using the API output, and the API output just is going to reflect the inputs in the output. As you can see here, the only thing that the chatbot is getting from the cat's endpoint is the question, and that's it. So how this question was answered? Well, again, the chatbot is an AI by itself. So the chatbot is just getting the question from the endpoint, and using the AI that is in the chatbot, the question is answered. And the same for the docs endpoint. So this is another trick. If you are going to create an agent that is going to be interacted through the chatbot, you can save some tokens. using the AI that is inside the chatbot. So in these cases, you don't have to use, for example, an LLM prompt and to deliver the question and use this component to answer the questions, because you're going to uh, spend more tokens than you really need. So keep in mind that you can save some tokens and you can save some components if you are going to interact with the agent through the chatbot. So take advantage of the AI that is inside the chatbot to make your workflows more efficient. Now let's see the other scenario. What if I'm not going to interact with this agent through the chatbot? I'm going to use it through the API. So in that case, yes, we are going to use the classifier to make the decision. So let's do that. In that case, well, we can get rid of this endpoint. We only are going to have one API endpoint, and it's going to be called, well, let's call it called cats and dogs. And now, well, we're going to pass the question to the classifier. We're going to use, well, the default prompt is good enough for the most of the cases. But now we're going to tweak this a bit. So it says classify the input content to one of the categories, set the select category to we're going to say pass the input to the selected category and the other ones to empty value. And we're going to say input is this. Okay. And we create our categories. One is called cats. The other one is called dogs. And we're going to use LLM prompts to answer the questions. Let's rename this to question, answer the question, and the question is this. And we're going to have the same here. And well, we can have an API output here just to receive the answer. Answer. We're going to connect both of them here, and that's it. Okay, so let's try this workflow. Okay, I'm gonna set the question, how can I train my cat? This go to the classifier. The classifier is going to select one of the categories. And as I said in the prompt, I'm gonna pass the question to the selected category. So I have the question in the output. And the generated answer is delivered to the API output. And that's it. So it's working, and well, we can also try a more real scenario using Swagger here. Here we can set the question, how can I train my cat? And here we have the response. So this is how I'm going to interact with the agent if I'm going to use the API instead of the chatbot. So why, if I'm going to interact with the agent through API, the workflow is different? Well, in this case, as I said, there's no AI who can decide which endpoint is going to be called. So that's why I cannot have two different endpoints and let the AI decide which endpoint is going to be called. So in this case, there's no that AI that we have with the chatbot. So that's why I'm using the classifier. I'm letting this component in charge of the decision of what is the question about. It's about cats or dogs. And then I'm answering the question. Again, in this case, we don't have AI, so I cannot just show the question and let the AI that is in the chatbot answer the question. In this case, we don't have that AI, so I need to use an LLM prompt component to answer the question. That's why I'm using here LLM prompt components. And well, finally, this is just like for refinement. I'm using an API output to display the answer. And that's it for this example. Just wanted to show how different can be the approach when you want to create an agent based on how you're going to interact with that agent through API or through the chatbot. I hope this can be useful for you. And well, that's it for this session. As always, you have a Discord server to ask any kind of questions, and see you in another session.